This better be your career. Right. Yes.
Well, hello. Welcome, everyone. And just in case I'm checking that mic, because when we got on Ultronimus, it delayed, but we're good now.
Okay.
And you know what? I think it's good. Yeah, if anyone in chat, if there's anyone, because you're here, has anything to say about the audio, let us know. But yeah, welcome everyone. Another episode of the morning show here, the BlueGamer Bluecast morning show. Again, with me, Adam Blue, the video game playing professional for over 30 plus years. I love that title. But what's cool today is we have a longtime friend of this channel and other channels I work on, Ultronimus, a content creator himself. What's going on, man?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. No, glad to have you on because I know you're a gamer. And when I say that, it's like more of like we're like in that kind of same game mentality. We play a lot of the same games. We talk about a lot of the same games. And so, yeah, I want to start doing a thing on Wednesdays, having guests on, and I figure you'd be a good first one. So, well, and normally, how I usually do this is, talk about, we've got news to talk about for sure. Like, I have some Helldivers 2 Hellblade. That's crazy that those games' names are so similar. Hellblade
And they're
2
both good.
impressions and Big Kitty Little City impressions. There's also some neat news, like leaked gameplay footage of Valve's new game, which is pretty crazy. But before that, Ultronimus, which you can see the link for his channel down in the description below. What's some games you've been playing recently?
Well, I've been playing Another Centuries episode 2 and 3. I never finished 2, so I'm finally getting to doing that. I was inspired by you, and since you keep talking about playing X-Men things, so I went back to Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
Oh, on Switch?
Yes.
Oh.
And this one, which I thought was funny, because you're having me on stream for the first time. The first time we streamed together on Hatters, you asked, and I said I was playing Giga Bash with Godzilla DLC. And this time I'm the first on yours, and I am playing the second Godzilla DLC on Giga Bash.
Oh, that's funny. Well,
Yes.
okay, so I remember you mentioned it to me. I didn't realize they made a second DLC. What's with the second DLC?
Well, it actually came out like last week. They added King Ghidorah and Hedorah, the smog monster.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. I need to get back to that because I played it back when it first came out. And then later they added Godzilla. And then I think I was playing again, but I don't know if I played the Godzilla DLC. I forget if you have to unlock that or something. It'd been a while. No, it's right off the bat.
Yeah, you can buy them, and they're not incredibly expensive, but once you buy the DLC, all the characters are unlocked from that set. So no grinding for it after that, just buy and play, which I really like.
I'm gonna have to try that. So with Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, let me ask you, how far have you gotten in the game?
Oh,
and I guess
I've already
that might go by character unlocks, because isn't it where like by the time you finish the game, you would unlock all the characters?
Sort of. Have you played Ultimate Alliance 3?
Yeah. In fact, the only character I need to unlock next is that last Thanos, but I think you have to like beat the entire game on the hardest difficulty. And where my son and I are on the last one, I forget if it was Fantastic Four.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, we're going through that.
Yeah, I've been playing alone, so like I beat all the DLC, but I had to grind so I can actually complete the other things, which is taking a while. Like I've just been grinding up my people.
Yeah,
so I can do that.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing, because when we first played, like he would like to be Spider-Man, and I think Miles specifically, and then we picked Thanos, Blade, and Doctor Doom. That was like our crew. Like I would mainly switch between Cable and Blade, and he would be like Doctor Doom and Spider-Man. And it's a very fun game. Like I'm surprised it's Switch only for a lot of reasons, because then
Right.
it's the third game, but then it's made by a Japanese developer on a Nintendo only system, when the previous ones were kind of like multi-platform, American made or Western made.
Yeah.
What schools, the reason I went back to it is just because of X-Men, to be like, okay, I have all these X-Men characters that I haven't leveled up
Yeah.
yet.
Right.
And did you know, and I don't know if you know this, in single player, you can change the camera to be down lower. Isn't that a
Yeah.
great idea?
I like the idea. It's not super great in action. I
Right.
found.
It's not the type of third person camera I would want, but I actually prefer it when I'm playing by myself.
I can
Because I
see
get to see
that.
my character a little more and all that. So
Yeah, like I've actually just figured out how to switch off of that to the big view because the way I'm grinding is fighting a whole big group, so I need to be
to
able to
see.
see them.
Okay,
I
that is
can.
actually a good point, because when I was playing the other day, I wasn't noticing, because I forget which fight it was. It was the one that was like 3 bosses. It's like a sentinel,
They
and I
do a
forget the
lot
other,
to
but
those.
anyway, yeah, I didn't see the enemies from off the screen attacking me, and it's a cool game. Like again, to me, it's a surprising thing that this third one was made by a completely different developer, in Japan,
Um,
that does those types of things for like Nintendo. I think, where they make like exclusive games for Nintendo, but Nintendo
yeah,
contracts them. And it makes me think, like, are they going to do a fourth one? And if they do, is it going to be multi-platform? Would it be Nintendo only again?
maybe. I think now that you bring it up, the reason we haven't gotten it again, like we got a whole different studio, was because of the legal issues. Like I referenced in chat before that, like they took off the first 2 Marvel Ultimate Alliances from the store with a bunch of other games. So I kind of think maybe they just couldn't get the old developers back.
Yeah, and you know what? It could have been Raven Software. I know it was an Activision, and now Microsoft owns all that stuff. I am waiting, and I know they're going to do this, and they haven't done it yet, but drop all those old Marvel games on Game
That
Pass, like
would be
Deadpool.
so.
Did you play
That
the
would get
Deadpool
me
game?
to get an Xbox.
What's that?
That would get me to get an Xbox, like an
Oh, yeah.
Xbox One. Like if they just had all of those, because
I know. I mean, because even that X-Men Origins Wolverine game was really good. Did you
right.
play that?
I haven't played that because I'm a bit biased. I'm Team Cyclops, so like I know it's
Oh,
good, but I'm just like,
now
do I
it
have to
it
play as
actually is good, and
Wolverine?
even I was just playing it a couple weeks ago, and it stands up to today. Like even at that time, it's funny because that game is way better than the movie. Like that's one of those
Right.
instances where the game is better than the movie by like a lot. It's like
And
you should have had the game developers make that movie.
that would
Yeah,
have probably made it a lot more entertaining.
yeah. Um,
Like,
but no, that's cool. Yeah. So anything else you played? Or is that about it?
those were the main few ones I've been doing since I've been trying to just record stuff for challenge videos. So I've been
Oh yeah.
kind of leaning a lot into the Ace games.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, yeah. Check out yeah, again, the link below to be able to follow that stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, so we can get to what I've been playing real quick, and it kind of goes into the topic here. So, Hellblade 2 dropped for Xbox, and while it's not like my type of game, I'm not excited for it. I was excited for it in the aspect that it's kind of Xbox's big game right now when they need something. As
Yeah.
a I say as an Xbox fan, but also I'm a fan of them all. But I would say that Xbox has had less stuff come from them. I think it's interesting. And I say less, I mean less big things, because Game Pass drops a lot of interesting small indie games off, and they even got Pal World, which is actually huge. So, but again, not my game necessarily. So anyway, I wanted to try Hellblade 2 because again, it's on Game Pass. I'm paying for it. And I got to say, like, from what I played so far, it's a slow burn, not my type of game, but hearing people say it's 8 hours, only, it's like, okay, maybe then I'll just stick with this and beat it because it looks amazing. So yesterday I was talking about how I think like Demon Souls is the best looking console or game ever, really right now. I think just the PS5, when a developer can develop strictly for the PS5, they can do so much wonderful things with it, you know. Whereas PC, there's all those GPUs, CPUs. But with uh on Hellblade 2, watching it, even I watched it on the Xbox on the big screen, like the textures, there was times when I'm seeing the character where it's like that could have been a shot from a film, a live action film, and no one would have known the difference. Usually when you can tell is if there's a lot of organic things happening, like let's say someone moving their mouth. Like it looks good, but you can tell it's from a video game. But if it's the character's back, if there's water that is not hitting up against something, like you're seeing the water in the distance, it looks real. Once the water physics starts interacting with the character, then you're like, okay, this is a video game. But it looks good. And here's the thing: we talked about it yesterday on the channel here, how the reviews were all over the place. We had respectable outlets giving it 10s, 5s out of 5. But then we had some that would give it like 5 out of 10 in lower reviews, which I think that's the sign of a good game a lot of times, when there are people that absolutely love it and people that don't, just in terms of this is a game made for a specific thing. And that is for Xbox to have their prestige, narrative-driven game. Do you have any interest in this game at all?
Not really. We do most because I just don't have the console to play it, so I kind of just haven't thought about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And really, that's the thing. I'm even thinking by this weekend, will I even really bother playing it anymore? You know, it's cool with what I played, and it was very early on. And even then, early on, it's slow, and I feel it would pick up. But you know, so far that's what it is. And I think there's still some time. We're gonna have to wait to kind of see how this affects Xbox. Like, what does Hellblade 2's release do for the Xbox brand? Is it going to be something or nothing? Because it could just be where nothing happens and people don't really think of the game.
Right.
Yeah. The other game I played is Little Kitty Big City. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. And that is actually fun. Again, the only reason I played it was because it happened to be on Game Pass. Okay. Now, this is a game much more my speed, even though it being kitty-like in terms of kids, not cats, is not necessarily my thing. You know, the art style is very cutesy. The game doesn't have any real risk. So basically what the game is, it's an open world cat simulator, and it's great. And the premise is I guess you're a cat that lives in an apartment high rise, and safely the cat falls out to the ground, and then you have to make your way back up. And so it's a lot of you have some basic functions, like you hold down the A button, which is the jump button, and then you can kind of like aim the trajectory of your jump, like planning where do you want to jump as the cat to get that perfect jump. There's also the trigger does the little swipe, so you could just like walk on a ledge and then you can hit pots off.
Oh, that's adorable.
Side. Yeah, it's funny. And you know, as I go, there's just little things that were neat. Like there was a guy painting in his backyard. He had the canvas on the ground and the paints on the ground. So I just went over there, knocked over the paints, walked on them, and then walked on the canvas to paint it. You can go up to people walking and would nudge or nuzzle their leg. You know, you can also like just randomly sit or lay down if you want. And if people are walking and on their phone, they can trip over you, and it makes them drop their phone. So you can actually go over and pick up the phone and run. So that's what's neat about this game is I feel like it's this thing where there's these systems in place. Although the game it has this production value to it where it just seems very linear, but it's not. I just mean in terms of making it easy for a kid to understand go here, do this, pick this up, because it
Okay.
has a pick. I could go to someone's house and pick up their with my mouth their slippers and walk around and drop them somewhere else.
Yeah.
I found a bone and I was able to put it near a dog's bowl and it distracted the dog so that I could get around the dog. You know, it's
Smart.
it's and so that's what I like about it, because the game is a gamer's game. Like, you're immediately playing with the systems. Like, I'm immediately like, okay, I have to try to figure out how to jump here, talk to this animal. And yeah, one animal gave me a quest to knock over 5 jars of jelly in a store. So I went to the store, was jumping up, knocking, and then I think the lady was trying to get me, but then she got the broom out to clean the mess. I was like, that's pretty neat.
I like that.
Yeah, and there's a dedicated meow button too. You can just press the meow. So what this game is to me is, not only is it like straight up a cat simulator, but it is just a fun, cozy, like, this is something for sure that, like, I would wake up Saturday morning before anyone else is awake, just lounge on the couch and play this type of game, and just kind of zone out. Does that type of game interest you?
Yeah, I usually like to play cozy games like that. Well, they've never been a cat, but this sounds super cool and adorable. Since
Yeah.
there need to be more games, I think, where you just play as like a standard animal, like on all fours, not like a anthropomorphized version.
Yeah, yeah, I like the idea of games that are almost like simulators for something. Not that it's a one-to-one simulator, but just where you're in this world and you have these like systems that you're just interacting with. It reminded me of like Goat Simulator, which that's a lot of fun. The
Yes.
thing is, Goat Simulator is too wacky and zany that when I'm
Yeah.
playing it, I feel more like I'm playing with like Legos and random action figures in my house instead of like a structured, like, this is the world you're in.
Right. That's
Yeah.
from what I recall, that was more leading into like funny ragdoll physics.
Exactly. It was how goofy you could get with, using the game's physics. And I think that kind of, you know, I don't know if that started it, but sort of that idea is what could go into what you're talking about. Maybe make a game where you are a wolf and you have to like get a wolf pack and you have to try to make sure you're that leader of the wolf pack, and you have maybe the forests that in the mountains, and then you have to worry about hunters that are coming. I think there's ideas that could be done in that way. Another thing to add too is the graphics. So the graphics in this are cartoony enough to where it's passable, to where, okay, it looks good, but really the graphics are super basic. Like, this looks like something, I mean, I could be wrong, it could be on the PS1, or maybe PS2, other than like the effects. Like, obviously it has modernized effects that kind of help give it a sheen, but without that, the graphics aren't really anything much. But it's not a bad thing because the art style is there.
Right.
So. All right. Well, yeah, for me, those are the impressions of those two games. If anyone's interested, the last thing I will add is I was playing some more Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance yesterday. It's usually every day I spend about 30 minutes in a Castlevania game just to kind of progress. It's like a cool little downtime. I love immersing myself in the music and the exploration. So, all right, we're going to get into news now. So let's jump into that. So this is the first thing I saw when I loaded up the news. Valve, huge company, very few games. I mean, unless you think like on the Steam store, they technically have millions of games because they get a cut of every sale. So,
True.
but other than their Half-Lives, didn't they have a card game called Artifact that came out a couple years ago and was so bad that everyone forgot about it. Let's
I was gonna
see.
say I don't recall
Wait, it
that,
says,
but
admittedly, the video doesn't tell us much, but Insider Gaming recently obtained a lengthy breakdown of some of the game's most important elements. Okay. We learned that this 6v6 shooter has a range of characters from different races and categories, including robots, humans, and magicians. It also has some solid MOBA mechanics, such as lanes and economy, and roles ranging from healers to tanks. Deadlock has been in development for quite some time and has been passed from pillar to post in terms of project's identity. but it seems to be shaping up well. There are no solid expectations of release date for Deadlock, but it's in alpha testing now, so that could mean 25 or 26. Wow, that's quite a while. So kind of recap, this is them doing a hero shooter that is also a MOBA. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that the market is wanting something like that right now?
Kind of. Like, there aren't too many third person MOBAs. Like, there's really just Smite predecessor just came out. But when they do MOBAs, it's traditionally always the classic format or fantasy. So if this is sci-fi themed, then that would definitely fill a void that's kind of been really
Yeah.
only predecessors, right, which just came out since I can't even remember the name before before the company shut down the first version, but there's only like one sci-fi MOBA out there.
Yeah, I can't even say I've
So
heard of
this would
predecessors. In fact, it's so weird, the story with MOBAs, because I never got into them. But when Warcraft 3 first came out, I played the crap out of it. And then it was from that spawned, Defense of the Ancients, which turned into like the League of Legends and Dota. And then, we get hero shooters, which again, Blizzard, who made Warcraft 3, kind of revolutionized the hero shooter with Overwatch. And so now we're getting Valve, kind of combining these elements. And so part of me thinks, at the time Blizzard was making Overwatch, they were a huge company or kind of on the cutting edge of the type of gameplay people would want. I would think Valve is the same, except for the fact that they came out with that Artifact game that failed. Like they thought they had a card. They were trying to compete with Hearthstone, and they tried to come out with a clone of that, and it just failed. It's actually free on Steam if you ever want to check out their card game that they tried to release. So yeah, it's interesting, but because this is a leak, this does not mean this game will ever come out. To me, I think Valve, it seems like they work on a lot of stuff, but only really release things if it works, except for that Artifact card game. So I actually don't know. I actually don't know what Valve's ever going to do. So interesting.
Right.
Okay,
Just don't bank on it getting a third entry.
What's that?
Just don't bank on it getting a third entry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Watch a tank attack a medieval army in the latest Kingmakers trailer. So this is pretty neat. This is something that's been announced before, this Kingmakers, and I'll just look this up real quick. It's just kind of neat to see a motorcycle riding through 1400 AD. And so I kind of like this idea of a game because, like, look at that. The guy on the motorcycle just shooting people on horseback. It's crazy. But what's interesting about this is I feel like this is the direction we can go inevitably. It's very creative. It's like, you have games that have these giant combat scenarios that, amazing graphics, medieval times, modern. Why not combine that stuff? Like, I love the way this looks. Isn't this insane?
It looks so great and silly. And it looks like something someone would have originally done in like a Skyrim mod, but they just decided, let's make a whole game out of it.
Yeah, and that's what's cool is there's so many tools available to do this type of stuff. And what it's doing is it's merging a lot of the things people like. People like medieval settings, but they also like using modern weaponry and destructible environments. So I think just that alone, like this unique idea, makes this for me worth playing. And it could come out and be dull and boring, but I think this is worth keeping an eye out for. Because let's say it doesn't move the needle, I feel like it existing is going to inspire someone, just because of how unique it is.
Definitely.
Okay, let's see what else is going on. Oh, The First Descendant. Did you play any of that, the beta or anything?
Yes, I did. I liked it. It was a little confusing to figure out how their crafting system, but the gameplay I liked. It was a not really momentum based, but it's a third person looter shooter, but they also had a grapple hook you could use to like swing around briefly before it goes on cooldown. So it's like you had moments where you could be a lot more mobile than
Yeah.
just like a standard third person shooter type. So I thought that was neat.
Yeah, I
Um,
didn't play too much, but I played where, if I remember correctly, I think the game sets you up where you have a boss encounter, and then you're in this area where you can kind of run around and other people will show up. And then it's more of, I kind of understood the concept there, where it's like you're kind of going into these instances to fight enemies. Sometimes people can come help. It actually seemed fun. So I guess, that happens a lot with betas or demos. Like, I'll play just enough to be like, okay, I know what's going on here. I don't want to play anymore because I've talked about it on the show before. Sometimes with early access, sometimes I feel like I don't know what the term is, where the game changes to a point to where I've now transcended that change because I've played so much of the original version, or um,
right,
there's so many things they added. It's like, oh, I kind of wish I started then. And that's the thing. Like, First Descendant, it reminds me of like this plays like other games, but like you said, there's a little more to it. And so I feel like this existing makes sense in terms of, like, if we look at Warframe, how long that's been out, and they're still supporting it. Eventually, it's going to start dwindling. What's that kind of next mainline, like, type of looter shooter,
right,
and
right.
it's interesting that Destiny isn't even as regarded, I would say, as like something like Warframe. And so, what's that next one going to be? You know,
Right.
this could be it, just because I think this does a lot of the things right.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, the traversal while you're doing the combat.
Yeah. The characters are all had their own move sets,
Oh
so
yeah,
you can just get the one you like and stick with them.
that was another thing I liked. It reminded me of like a character action game in that way. Um, yeah, cool stuff. Helldivers 2 developer says updates may be slower going forwards. Okay, I mean,
It's not too bad.
yeah. Oh, I totally forgot. I played X Defiant yesterday.
Oh, how
So
was that?
let me give impressions on that. It plays exactly like Call of Duty. You could have told me I was playing Call of Duty. It looks, it feels, and it's and I don't know if it's just one game mode or there's probably multiple, but what I was playing was just the type of thing I like, where there's like this point you got to capture and defend. I like that. And that's the thing, like, it's free to play. Is it free to play? I don't know actually if it's free to play, because I have the Ubisoft Connect thing.
Right.
So um, to me, it's free, even though technically it's not, because I'm paying monthly. But it's, I'm just curious. Like, I wonder, if the game plays so much like Call of Duty. I wonder how much companies are thinking, okay, where can a new first person shooter be positioned, so as the Call of Duty fades out, dwindles out, a new one will come in. But I don't know if that would be the case. The interesting thing about X Defiant is it uses Ubisoft characters. So, like, everything's based on Ubisoft properties, which I think is a great idea. It's just weird that it's not, at least to me, like, on its face, you don't really notice that. Like, I didn't know. I think I had heard about it before, but I didn't know until I had to pick my character, and it was like Splinter Cell characters, Division character, or something. I was like,
Right.
oh, interesting. Um,
Right. Like, I don't
what's that?
I don't know the other people, but I know Sam
Oh,
Fisher.
yeah, that's the thing. I think it's a neat concept and idea. It's kind of like doing a battle royale all stars thing, like PlayStation did, Smash Brothers from Nintendo, or Mario Party, Mario Kart. I think that's a neat idea, and that's the thing about Ubisoft. I feel like they're a genuine AAA publisher, but they get a lot of crap because I think their games are always like pretty good, but nothing is ever like amazing. Which I hope that new Assassin's
Right.
Creed is going to be that. You know, um,
Hopefully.
because that sounds. Do you ever play the Assassin's Creed games?
I've tried one like years ago, but wasn't super huge on it. I like the art style, but I just couldn't really get
Oh,
behind the gameplay.
yeah, I would agree that the overall gameplay is not the best. It's just all of its systems together are pretty fun. I don't play them all. I've always skipped Assassin's Creeds. I played the first one. I played the third one. I played Origins. I played Black Flag. I like this one because this new one coming out. Shadows because of the samurai thing going on.
Yeah, Yasuke is cool to see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is awesome. Let's see. Multiverses Studio explains new battle pass. So yeah, Multiverses is that WB fighting game like Smash Brothers that came out in like a beta or early access, then went away and it came back. Let's see. Namco, Picross, Amazon, new studio. Oh, Amazon new studio. That's interesting in Europe, huh? All characters in Valve's Deadlock. Interesting. So there's a lot of information on that Deadlock if people are interested. Let's see, just real quick, if there's anything. I mean, there's for Switch news, there's that 1,000-year door launch coming soon. But
that's cool.
But no, I think that's about it. Yeah, we're at about time. But that was some interesting news. Nothing too crazy. But I think the main thing is the games that just came out. And I totally forgot to bring up X Defiant earlier. But yeah, X Defiant, Hellblade 2, Little Kitty Big City are the three main ones right now that people can play. But yeah, Ultronimus, again, thanks for joining. Again, link in the description if you want to join his channel. What are you going to be up to? Any content coming up you want to talk about?
Well, I've been trying to do more long plays, so my content's taking a bit longer to come out, but I think it'll be better overall. So instead of a whole bunch of small things, you just get here's the one video. I'll just sit and leave that on.
Yeah, while you're working, have it in the background. I tend to do that a lot when I'm watching the videos. Well, cool. Yeah, everyone stay tuned for that. But yeah, this was a good time. Thanks again. We'll probably have you back again in the future. But for everyone out there watching, thanks for watching. We'll talk later.